Welcome to the Work Wonders podcast, where we simplify HR for small business. I'm Angela.
And I'm Susan. Let's dive into today's episode and see what you've been wondering about.
In today's episode, we're going to be talking about HR myths. You've heard us talk about our profession, human resources, and along the way, Susan and I have both heard some funny little things that we would call a myth in our profession, and we'd love to tell you about them. So let's get started. This is the Work Wonders podcast.
Hi Angela.
Hey
How are
Susan.
you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good. I'm really looking forward to getting stuck into this because, like me, over the years, people say a lot of stuff about HR and what they think of HR.
They
And
do.
this might be a good opportunity for us to set the record straight, maybe?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, let's go. So you want to go first?
Sure. Look, one that I always hear is that HR is all about paperwork. We're the ones that make the forms and force people to fill out the forms, all of that.
The policies and procedures.
There's a lot, right? There's recruitment.
Yeah, needing a position description
Yeah.
before you recruit someone, when you just want to
Payroll.
get someone on board.
Yeah. Yeah, there's lots. And when you're reviewing someone, there's a big form usually, to do with someone's performance. And look, there's a lot of paperwork, but there's a reason behind that, isn't there?
Well, I guess. Is it just to be annoying?
No,
Oh, no.
absolutely not. I
Okay.
don't think so. Look, I think it helps to standardise a process, certainly when you're thinking about recruitment or payroll, things like that. It helps to simplify having to think about a whole bunch of things as well. When you've got a new person starting and you need to know a certain amount of information to put in their payroll system, for example, having a form helps you do that.
So it is the compliance aspect as well.
Yeah.
So making sure that we're not breaking the law, one thing, but also that we don't end up on the front page of the newspapers
that would be
for
good.
things, that might happen in the business. So hopefully some ways managing employees' behaviour and managers' behaviour, so that's all part of policies and procedures as well.
Yeah.
So if we're not all about the paperwork,
No, I think there's a lot more to it.
what are we about?
Well, look, interestingly, some people can think, depending on which side of the business you're on, if you're an employee, sometimes they can be a little scared to come to us because they think, they're just all about the business. Their interests are just about the business. They don't care about me. And on the flip side, a business owner or a manager or, that sort of thing might think, they're just about the employees. They're just here to look after them. Not my interests, not my bottom line.
Yeah, HR is the meat in the sandwich.
We are.
And sometimes it's quite a difficult line to walk, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it can be.
Because you have access to a lot of personal information
Yeah.
and you have to know how to manage that. And I think that's a very important skill.
Yeah, confidentiality and knowing when to speak and when not to, and what's appropriate. And I guess treating everybody with fairness and respect no matter what part of the business they're in.
That's it. We like to think that we're being fair as much as we possibly can while meeting the business requirements.
Yeah.
Because essentially, we're there to help the business at the same time as making sure that the employees get heard and
Absolutely.
have a voice.
Yeah, like you said, it's about compliance and mitigating risk. So, we don't want businesses to fall into that place of having a bullying claim or, paying someone incorrectly or an unfair dismissal claim. And a lot of the work we might do is preventative in nature to stop those things from happening.
Yeah, so while those things can be perceived as being on the side of the employee in some cases, they're actually happening to protect the business. One thing that irks me, something I object to, is that impression that HR's there for the hiring and the firing.
Oh, I hate that word, firing.
Yeah. So there's a lot more.
Oh, there's so much in between. So we've talked about the employment life cycle before. That's a term we know and love, I think. And so that's talking about everything from when an employee begins working with your business right up to when they exit your business. That's the life cycle of employment. But there's so much between the beginning and the end.
Yeah, definitely. So like what?
Well, I'm thinking, there's obviously payroll and work health and safety involved. There might be enterprise bargaining agreement if you don't just go off an award.
Yes, and there's other things like, how engaged are your employees, what are the values, the culture.
The culture, yeah.
How are you translating that into the everyday, business activity that your employees are involved in.
Yeah, and
So
how you're reviewing your staff.
Oh, yeah.
Training them, developing them, and your managers as well. And then there's all those other things that we know fit under our HR banner. I'll refer you back to episode, I think it was 1, Susan, where we talked about what is HR. That'd be a great one to go back and listen to if you want to know more about that.
Are you enjoying the Work Wonders podcast? We started it to help people just like you. If you have questions, please send them through via our website and we'll make sure we cover them in future episodes. Yeah, of course, another thing that people think about HR is that we're there to spoil all the fun.
Oh, yes.
This comes up every Christmas party.
Christmas party, yep. Yeah, so people not necessarily, we want to keep them safe. We don't want lots of people intoxicated and that sort of thing.
And the sort of things that can happen when people are intoxicated that they might regret later. It's not that fun being a wet blanket.
Yeah, sometimes it does feel like you are there to make sure everybody's safe, and that can not always be the fun thing to do, but it's necessary and it's, even at a Christmas party, for example, it's a work event and so you want to keep everybody safe. Your job doesn't necessarily end.
No, that's right, yeah, which is pretty hard because we like to have fun as well, don't we? Another myth, well, I guess it's a misconception more than a myth, is that HR just costs a business. It's a cost centre. Yeah.
I remember being told this way back when I started my uni degree, that it was something that, a lot of business owners think, HR's that thing I've got to do, but it just costs me money. It doesn't actually add to my bottom line.
So can we talk a bit about how HR can be strategic and not be just a cost centre?
Yeah, I think HR can be absolutely strategic, and I think the benefit of the business is if we are doing that. So we can absolutely save money to that bottom line and add to that for businesses when we think of things like keeping employees more engaged and more productive in their job and ultimately retained for longer, less turnover, less recruitment costs, that sort of thing.
Another thing related to that, of course, is training and how training is often cut back. As soon as a business is in trouble, they want to cut costs on training. And longer term, that's a bit of a false economy.
Yeah, you'd much better invest in the people you have and keep them rather than having to start all over again.
Yeah, and possibly pay more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We talked about mitigating risk as well, so those things we talked about, a lot of those things like unfair dismissal or a workers' comp claim, any other sort of claim can be quite costly for a business. So all the work we do in advance of stopping those things from hopefully happening is saving money.
And this is where we like to be consulted before there's a problem.
Ah, yes.
Because we would prefer, rather than cleaning up some mess, to be proactive and help the business to be proactive, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you might have even heard this too, Susan, that, we only need to tell HR when there's a problem. They'll come in and fix that.
Yeah.
Actually,
I heard an analogy the other day that is probably relevant to this, and that is if you treat HR that way and bring it in when things have got really bad and you need someone to help you clean it up, it's basically like parking the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff instead of having a guardrail at the top of the cliff.
Oh, that's a great analogy. I love that.
I thought you might like that.
Another one I hear a lot is, you're here, someone must be getting fired.
Oh dear.
So there's an assumption that if HR's
here,
hear someone's in trouble. Did I say a lot, did I?
Do you have such a reputation, Angela?
No.
I'm surprised.
No, but I guess there's an assumption that, HR means business sort of thing, that it's only on the trickier end of the scale when something's gone wrong. So there are probably occasions where employees have only dealt with HR or had any experience with HR when there has been something critically wrong. Especially in big business, I'm thinking, where, they might not cross them in the halls and that sort of thing every day.
And that just reminded me of one area where I think, and I'm pretty sure you'll agree with this, we'd like employees to get more involved with HR, and that is in having career conversations.
Oh, yeah.
And having discussions with them about, their potential within the organisation, or even training that they might consider to take them further in their career, not necessarily in the organisation. Because when you're sick and tired of your job and feeling like it's not challenging you anymore, and you decide you're going to leave, well, it's too late for us to do anything about it then.
Yeah.
What would be really lovely is that if people came to us and said, look, I need more challenge, or, I'm interested in doing this job that someone else is doing, or, this part of someone else's role. HR are the perfect people to help facilitate that for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another myth that I love is that HR don't do numbers. They're not accountants. They're not good with all the accounting reports, P&Ls and balance sheets and things like that. Well, and they don't really get numbers.
I have heard it said you're either a people person or a numbers person. But look, I think there's a lot of numbers in our profession, especially when you think about payroll. Some businesses do encompass payroll under the banner of HR, some don't, but it certainly does play into what we do. But more than that, there are so much points of data and statistics that we grab from our work that we do. So I'm thinking about if we were to do a culture survey of staff, there's a lot of data you can grab from there in terms of how people are tracking and, what trends are appearing.
And then having to represent that data in a way that makes sense to other people.
Yeah, translating it to what it means for the business in a monetary sense.
Yeah, and something that people can take action on.
Yeah. The same with, retention, keeping people in a job rather than resigning, and all the statistics around how quickly you can recruit and replace someone that's, leaving.
Calculating your rate of turnover.
Yeah.
There's all that reporting around equal employment opportunity.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. And even if we think about when there's changes to the awards, or when there was the ERO to do with the SHADS award and so on, there's a lot of numbers that come into play there as well that we need to interpret to understand what effects that means for the workforce.
So even getting your head around the details in an award. Some of the modern awards, although they were supposed to be simplified, are really quite complex. And there's pages and pages of allowances for different aspects of their job.
Are you thinking about the construction award?
Yes, I am.
It's a quite tricky one.
Yeah, exactly. Then there's just the basic calculation of remuneration and benefits. If the business decides to give out bonuses, it's often up to HR to calculate how that all fits in with everything else, and when and where.
Yeah, even statistics about, how long people have been in the business, who's been there for 5 years, who's been there for 10 years or more, long service leave, all of that. So there's lots of things.
And performance appraisals are another area where we sometimes have to look at numbers.
Yeah.
Definitely data.
Never ending. There we go. We are good at numbers.
Because we got to be.
We've got to be both. We've got to be good with people and good with numbers.
Yeah, when you were saying about, they say you're either a people person or a numbers person, I was thinking there's probably numbers people who say that.
I think it was actually. It's funny, isn't it?
Well, we hope you've enjoyed us talking about some of the myths and misconceptions around HR. Hopefully it'll give you some insights into where we're coming from and what we think we can offer in a business.
And do you have any myths and misconceptions about your career in what you do or what your business does? Let us know over on our LinkedIn page. We'd love to talk to you more about it.
Yeah, we'd love to hear it.
Thanks for listening to the Work Wonders podcast. Hit the subscribe button now to never miss an episode. And if you've enjoyed today, we'd love you to tell your friends and leave us a review. What are you wondering about? Let us know over at our website, workwonderspodcast.com.au. See you in the next episode.